So you were telling me about the Behavioral Care Center.
Yep.
What's going on with that?
You know, I'm very impressed with the work that they've done because they started off with just pretty much an idea on what they wanted to do.
Right.
Sheriff Darren Hall said, Davidson County Sheriff Darren Hall said, he had an idea for creating this mental health facility, but making it so that someone would go in through processing like they were arrested, right? As soon as they're arrested, they are evaluated for any mental health conditions they may have. Mm-hmm. And what they found is 30% of the people who end up going into their jail had some sort of mental health issue. Now, before this, they would just go to jail.
Yeah, right.
But now they have this facility literally right across from the jail. Like there's a hallway in between, and they go right into treatment. And so you have
there, all in the same place.
Same place. Literally, the jail faces this way, the behavioral care center faces this way. In the middle is a hallway. So you just go from this processing to this processing, and now the people that you saw with guns and their sheriff's uniforms, now they're wearing scrubs on this side, And so they had, he explained how, COVID made a big difference because
who's he? I missed that.
Sheriff Hall.
Yes.
So this all started I should backtrack. The facility opened in September of last year. So obviously COVID, a lot of different concerns in terms of how do you house these people? How do you keep them safe from one another? Because they created this space so that people, like some of these patients, and I stress the word patients because now instead of being inmates, they're patients.
Yeah.
And that's
just that terminology alone.
Exactly.
Being able to mentally change that opinion of either a third party saying it or them calling themselves that. That's got to be huge.
Well, and that's one of the things that really stood out to me the first time around when I heard it, because the sheriff said, I want to tell you about what we do for our patients. And I'm like, that we don't hear that from a law enforcement officer of any kind.
Yeah.
Our patients.
Yeah.
So that shift of mentality plays a huge difference. You have these people who are now, they now have a place where they can get treatment and they don't have to feel like they are inmates. Even the stuff that they wear is different than the other guys wear. Mm-hmm. But like I said, COVID makes a big difference because they wanted to make the space so that people could interact with one another. So they weren't like locked in a cell. They could talk to one another. There's probably 7 or 8 different beds in one room.
Nice.
And so you have these folks interacting and everything, and they had about 140 people in the facility since September, okay? Yeah. Until, this past couple weeks. 140 people. Out of that 140, they had 7% of them get rearrested for another charge.
Okay.
Now, 7%, it's a small number. And for some people, they might think, okay, well, what does that mean? To put it in perspective, 70% of the people who are locked up in the jail will likely get rearrested.
And that's been the statistic.
That's been the going statistic for the past, I guess for the past year at least.
Yeah.
But overall, the number of people who are getting arrested and being sent to that jail is down, during COVID. So the numbers, while they're, while it's a smaller sample size, you're still seeing 7%. And, there are a number of reasons for why it's happening. And the sheriff said, one of the things that he really wanted to make sure happened was that as soon as someone is done with a 30-day treatment, it's required that staff knows who is coming to pick this person up. Someone has to pick you up.
Yeah.
Family member, friend, church, counselor, whoever. they have to pick you up. So it's not like we're just pushing you into the street and then you go out and reoffend, you know, because that's what's happened in the past. As soon as you're done, you go. Where do you go? Back into the same stuff that you got mixed up in. So
the percentage has gone from what to what with this new program?
This new facility, I mean, there was no game plan ahead of, like there was no real percentage before this because they didn't have a facility. So now that they do, it's like, okay, well, I don't think they expected to have only 7% of people re-arrested. Like, the recidivism rate, for it to be 7% is unheard of. And so it's, for the first time, this was, and I said it before, but this is my first time seeing tangible results for an idea that, just kind of came out of nowhere, and it's a good idea because obviously you want to make sure that these folks get treatment, but at the same time, to see results so soon, I think that's what stood out the most for people.